We scientists have a term for the space around a sun or a star where water won't evaporate or freeze. It's called the Goldilocks zone, and if you're watching this from Earth, it's all around you. Over the past few years though, people seeking an affordable 4x4 wagon have been left out in the cold. The Toyota FJ Cruiser and Mitsubishi Pajero have long disappeared, possibly up a black hole. The Jeep Wrangler and Nissan petrol prices have skyrocketed, and buyers have to wait light years for a Toyota Prado. But what about the Great Wall Tank 300? My name is Dr. Professor Mr. just for this episode, Byron Mathioudakis for CarsGuide.com.au, and I'm here to find out whether this Chinese-built large 4x4 is right for Australia. Let's find out. For this review, we're testing the Tank 300 Ultra, which kicks off from $50,990 drive away. But even the base Lux from $46,990 drive away lives up to its name, with unexpected goodies like a sunroof, powered front seats, two 12.3-inch digital screens, a 360-degree surround view camera, side steps and roof rails. The extra 4K for Ultra nets some Napa leather trim, heated and cooled front seats with massage function for the driver, wireless charging, ambient lighting, a front diff lock and 18-inch alloy wheels amongst other bits. And the Tank 300 does not scrimp on safety either, with a full complement of driver assist tech like adaptive cruise control. More on that in the safety section, and in the driving section as well. Uh-oh, if you're dead set on one of these, you'll need to watch that first. Still, there's one more special feature the Tank 300 possesses, and that's character, a timeless charm that's hard to quantify but easy to spot. And if you do the sums here, it really is in a Goldilocks zone of its own. Cool 4x4 alternatives like the Suzuki Jimny can be too small, or too old like the Land Cruiser 70 series, or too expensive. For instance, the Jeep Wrangler now starts from nearly $85,000, the Ineos Grenadier and Land Rover Defender kick off from around $100,000, while the Mercedes AMG G63 costs nearly $400,000 big ones, or too dead. RIP Toyota FJ Cruiser. One more thing as well. Among these four-wheel drive wagons, only the Defender can match the GWM in offering a hybrid option, but the Tank 300 HEV kicks off from under half of what Land Rover is asking, from $55,990 to $61,000, both drive away. And here's another fun fact. This GWM Tank 300 Ultra, the top-of-the-line petrol edition, costs the same price as the Toyota RAV4 GXL Hybrid. There's food for thought. Shush! I actually asked 4 people what they thought the Tank 300 looks like from the front, and all of them said a Jeep, but which Jeep? They were a bit vague. I think it looks like this, the Toyota Land Cruiser J60 series from the 1980s, with its circular headlights and friendly grille. It's really attractive. Battery's not included, by the way. The silhouette though, I reckon, is pure Land Cruiser 80 series from the 90s, with its curved turret and kind of big hips. But in proportion and actual feel, the car reminds me most is another one, another Toyota that is, and that's the FJ Cruiser. You gotta love that. If Toyota 4x4 icons help shape the Tank 300 on the outside, it's so hard to spot the influence of the Tank 300 inside. Not that everything works as planned. So the key's in my pocket,
And most times you approach this thing and it won't open. There you go, it finally did. Anyway, what was I saying? Let's join me inside. Up.
The Tank 300 follows classic Mercedes G-Wagon tropes inside, from the square roofline, flattish windscreen and boxy proportions, to the oversized grab handles on the pillars. Being a high-set medium-sized SUV, there's space aplenty, including a decent amount of legroom for taller drivers and decent vision as well. Plus, the dashboard is shamelessly Mercedes in design, layout and presentation. Shockingly though, it feels almost as luxurious inside, at least in the Ultra as tested, with premium finishes, Napa leather trim, turbine air vents and classy switchgear. But is that gauche analog clock in the centre a step too far though? Then there's the twin 12.3-inch displays, one for the digital instrumentation and the other for the multimedia touchscreen. Both might seem like info overload at first, but a bit of familiarisation soon reveals a logical and largely well laid out design. And we're extremely relieved that climate control hard buttons still exist in modern SUVs. Finally, ventilation is great and storage is ample. But GWM is still making some rookie mistakes here.
Okay, I want to start off by saying that this is one of the best interiors I've ever experienced in a Chinese built car, and especially in a GWM product. However, some of the details do let the side down. For instance, having a haptic screen is great on your desktop at home, but when you're moving and controlling a car and you have to change things and keep still and try to focus on what you need to change, in this case I'm trying to change the steering from sport to comfort mode, you have to do that while driving. It's too distracting. These seatbelts can't be fastened when they're not being used, so they rattle over bumpy roads and even on normal roads. The seats are flat after a long period of time. They're not very supportive. You get a numb bum. And these A-pillars, while they do a great job in giving the car structure and support, do make the car difficult to see through roundabouts. They create big blind spots.
Still, there's no shaking off the fact that a lot of thought went into making the Tank 300 a pleasant place to travel in, especially given the price.
And back here, GWM's sort of everything. Folding armrest, cup holders, USB ports, face level air vents, mat pockets for odds and ends, and ample storage for anything you want. It's really quite a practical 5-seater family car. And even the back window goes all the way down. Your dog will love that. Plus, the Tank 300 has this little party trick, ouch, for families. Easy 2-step folding of the seat to reveal a quite cavernous cargo area. And if you join me around back, sure, there's a bit of a step and it's quite high, so you have to lift things up. But once you're in there, you can set out at just how practical the Tank 300 really is.
Just keep in mind that, with all seats up, cargo capacity is only about 400 litres, which is nearly a third less than what a Toyota RAV4 offers. Blame all that body-on-frame chassis and 4x4 gear hogging all the space underneath the floor.
Under this bulbous bonnet is a 2-litre petrol, not diesel, 4-cylinder turbo engine.
Making 162 kilowatts of power and 380 Nm of torque, it sends drive to the rear wheels via an 8-speed automatic transmission. A part-time 4-wheel drive system is fitted, featuring 4-wheel drive high and 4-wheel drive low ranges for off-road driving. Being a body-on-frame 4x4, the suspension consists of a tough double wishbone design up front and a non-independent multi-link layout out back. There's plenty of ground clearance too, at 224mm. And lastly, towing capacities are 2,500 kilograms braked or 750 kilograms using an unbraked trailer.
A low price isn't the only way the Tank 300 saves you money, because it runs on 91 RON standard unleaded petrol.
Which is just as well, because while the official fuel consumption average is 9.5 litres per 100 kilometres, our pump-to-pump average turned out to be a pretty disappointing 13.8. This was from a mixture of inner city, urban and highway driving, with no off-road excursions at all.
Righto, the moment of truth. Most ladder frame chassis four-wheel drive wagons, like this car, are really quite ponderous around town. They're dreary to drive, they feel too heavy, and they just can be a handful when it comes to parking. Happily, none of that applies to the Tank 300. Despite being around 4.8 meters long, it really does shrink around you when you drive it around town. The steering is light, it's easy to park, it comes with an excellent camera system, so that also aids maneuverability, especially in tight city spots. Overall, it's an easy vehicle to live with in an urban environment. The same also goes with the petrol engine, which is tuned for low speed acceleration, so it feels sprightly off the mark. And it's actually quite a spirited performer. You put your foot down, it just goes, and it responds really well. In most urban environments, that's great, but take it out on the open road, and especially with two or more people in the car, plus a bit of luggage and that sort of thing, and you start realizing that even though there is a decent amount of power and 380 newton meters of torque, the car weighs almost 2,200 kilograms, so it has a inferior power to weight ratio. It's only 75 kilowatts per tonne. What all that means is that it just takes a little while to respond to throttle inputs. If you need to overtake, you've got to wait for the engine to rev to the point where maximum power comes in. And as a result, it can feel a bit sluggish. The other thing is that the steering, while it's great around town, can feel a bit too light and lifeless out on the open road. It basically translates to a car that isn't as sure-footed when you're going around corners fast, or even just at a brisk pace as it should. Well, it's certainly not up there with a class best, such as, say, a Ford Everest, or, you know, if you can afford one, a Land Rover Defender. The suspension is pretty compliant. It feels like it can soak up any sort of bump. Like, I'm going over a big bump now, and you know, I'm not really feeling it. I know I'm going over it because I can feel the up and down motion, but it's not harsh and it's not uncomfortable. Probably my biggest issue with this car, though, when it comes to driving, is the drive assist systems. They just don't have any nuance to them, and this is a problem level to a lot of Chinese cars. So, for example, if I'm driving along with the adaptive cruise control on, it feels that there's a car that might go into your lane, or the lane keep system thinks that you're going to drive into someone else's lane. It warns you too quickly, and it warns you, and it cuts power, and it's just off-putting. Worse still, when you turn the evasive steering technology on, which helps you avoid driving into something, sometimes it thinks that your car needs correction, and it pushes and jolts the steering wheel in one direction or another, and that can be quite disconcerting, especially if you're not a very confident driver, and in extreme circumstances I think that might even be dangerous. Unfortunately, it's an obvious problem with this car. It needs more Australian tuning, and we hope that Great Wall Motors responds to this and puts a bit more effort in making a car more adaptable to Australian conditions.
Tested in late 2022, ANCAP awarded the Tank 300 a 5-star rating. Furthermore, it scored consistently high marks in all 4 key areas that are important: adult protection, child protection, vulnerable road users that includes pedestrians and cyclists, and safety assist systems. That's because GWM has thrown almost everything in it, including a front center airbag and As we explored further in the driving section, those overzealous adaptive cruise control and lane support systems. You'll also find ISOFIX child seat latches in both outboard rear seat positions, along with top tether straps. The Tank 300 comes with a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, as well as 5 years of roadside assistance. GWM also offers 5 years of cap price servicing, set at annual and either 10,000 kilometre or 15,000 kilometre intervals, depending on how far the vehicle has travelled, as well as its age. See my Tank 300 review at carsguide.com.au for full details.
This is no fairy tale, folks. Perfectly sized, superbly packaged, and outstandingly priced, the new Tank 300 is in the Goldilocks zone for people who need an off-road capable family SUV. That's if you can ignore the tricky driver assist safety interventions, dreary performance, heavy fuel consumption, and the fact that the handling can be a bit of a handful at speed. Here's my score on the screen right now. Don't forget, you can read the full review on the Tank 300 at carsguide.com.au. And as always, thanks for watching. By the way, I'm not really a scientist. Please don't write in.